There's a good chance you have at least one of them right now, a tiny hole quietly rotting a tooth inside your own mouth. Nearly everyone alive today will get a cavity at some point in their life. We treat it as a basic, unavoidable fact of being human. You brush twice a day, you floss, you visit a dentist, and you still get them. So here is something that should genuinely disturb you. Your ancient ancestors did none of that. No toothbrush, no toothpaste, no floss, no dentist, not for hundreds of thousands of years. And yet, when we dig up their skulls, we find something almost unbelievable. Their teeth are often nearly perfect, strong, whole, and free of the decay that haunts almost every modern mouth. Which raises a question that flips everything you've been told. Why did ancient humans almost never get cavities while you do? This isn't a guess and it isn't a myth. It is written in bone, in skulls, tens of thousands of years old. When archaeologists examine the jaws of ancient hunter-gatherers, the pattern is striking. Cavities are rare, sometimes almost completely absent. These were people who had never once seen a dentist, who had never brushed a single tooth in their lives, and still decay was the exception, not the rule. Then slowly, something changed. As you move forward through time toward the modern world, the teeth in the skulls begin to rot, holes appear, decay spreads, teeth fall out. By the time you reach people like us, cavities are absolutely everywhere. The same species, the same teeth, but a completely different fate. So if it wasn't brushing that protected them, and they never brushed at all, then what on earth was keeping their teeth so healthy? To solve this, you first have to understand what a cavity actually is, and it is not what most people think. A cavity is not your tooth simply wearing out with age. A cavity is a disease, a living biological attack. Your mouth is home to billions of bacteria, an entire ecosystem coating your teeth. Most of them are completely harmless and many are even helpful, but a few specific kinds are troublemakers. The most infamous of all is a bacterium called Streptococcus mutans, and this little creature has one favorite food in the whole world: sugar. Every time you eat sugar or simple starch, you aren't only feeding yourself, you are throwing a feast for these bacteria. They devour the sugar, and as their waste, they pump out acid. That acid sits on your tooth and begins to dissolve it, atom by atom. Do this often enough, and the acid eats a hole straight through the hard enamel. That hole is a cavity. So a cavity isn't really caused by teeth being dirty. It's caused by feeding acid-making bacteria the one fuel they love most. And that single fact is the key to the entire mystery. Because here is what ancient humans almost never ate: sugar. There were no candy bars on the savannah, no soda, no bread, no pastries, no cereal. Their food was meat, fish, leaves, roots, nuts, and the occasional wild berry. Tough, fibrous, stringy food that took real work to chew. Food almost entirely free of the simple sugars these bacteria crave. Without a steady supply of sugar, the cavity-causing bacteria simply couldn't thrive. The feast never came. The acid was never made, the teeth stayed whole, and their rough diet did something else remarkable. All that heavy chewing physically scrubbed their teeth clean. Coarse, gritty, fibrous food wiped away particles and sticky buildup as they ate. In a strange way, their dinner was also their toothbrush. Their teeth slowly wore down and flattened over a lifetime of grinding. But worn down is not the same as rotted out. They lost height to all that chewing, yet rarely lost a tooth to decay. Their mouths also held a richer, more balanced world of bacteria than ours, a diverse microbiome that kept the few troublemakers firmly in check. Almost everything about the way they ate quietly protected their teeth. So what exactly went wrong for us? The first crack appeared around 12,000 years ago. It was one of the greatest turning points in all of human history: farming. Humans stopped chasing their food and started growing it. And what they grew, above all else, were grains: wheat, barley, rice, and corn. For the first time, the human diet filled up with soft, starchy carbohydrates. And starch, the moment it touches your mouth, begins breaking down into sugar. Suddenly, those cavity-causing bacteria had something they had never had before: a constant, reliable supply of their favorite fuel. And we can actually see the result, frozen inside ancient teeth. In 2013, scientists did something genuinely ingenious. They analyzed the hardened plaque still stuck to the teeth of ancient skeletons. That plaque had trapped the DNA of the bacteria living there, like a tiny time capsule, and the results were crystal clear. When humans took up farming, the entire ecosystem inside our mouths shifted. Harmful, decay-causing bacteria surged, and the healthy diversity began to collapse. The farmers' skulls show it plainly. More plaque, more gum disease, more cavities. The very invention that let our population explode also began to rot our teeth. In a sense, we traded a wild, healthy mouth for bread, and that was only the beginning. The second blow was far more recent and far more brutal. For thousands of years, sugar remained a rare and precious luxury. Most people might taste pure sweetness only a few times a year, if ever. Then, just a couple of centuries ago, everything changed. The Industrial Revolution arrived around the 1850s, and with it came cheap, refined white sugar and soft, processed flour in enormous amounts. For the first time in history, ordinary people could eat sugar every single day, in their tea, their bread, their sweets, and their drinks. To the bacteria living in our mouths, this was paradise, an endless, around-the-clock buffet of pure, perfect fuel. And those same scientists saw this exact moment too, hidden in the ancient plaque. Right around the Industrial Revolution, the cavity-causing bacteria did not just increase, they took over. One species, Streptococcus mutans, came to rule the human mouth as never before. Our oral ecosystem, once rich and diverse, crashed into something simpler and far more dangerous. And this is the mouth that you were born with. A mouth flooded with sugar, ruled by the very bacteria that drill holes in your teeth. Your cavities are not an ancient curse, they are a very modern invention. Now, to be fair, the real story has one more layer to it. It would be far too simple to say that every ancient human had flawless teeth. Some of them absolutely did not. In a few places, scientists have found ancient hunter-gatherers with surprisingly rotten teeth. At one site in Morocco, people living thousands of years before farming had badly decayed mouths. So what went wrong for them? The answer fits the theory perfectly. Those people had been eating huge amounts of sweet, sticky wild plants, things like acorns and other sugary foods. In other words, it was never really about farming itself. It was always only about the sugar. Feed the bacteria sugar, and your teeth will pay the price. Starve them, as your ancestors did without even trying, and decay almost disappears. So step back and really look at what this means. The cavity is not a natural, unavoidable part of being human. It is a disease of civilization, one we invented, and then spread to nearly every mouth on Earth. Your ancestors did not have healthier teeth because they were cleaner than you are. Remember, they never brushed at all. They had healthier teeth because they never once fed the enemy. And here is the strangest twist of the whole story. Your toothbrush, your floss, your fluoride, every bit of it is a modern set of tools we invented to fight a modern problem we also invented. We flooded our own mouths with sugar, then built an entire industry to undo the damage. Brushing your teeth is not ancient wisdom. It is damage control. It is us frantically scrubbing away acid from a feast we simply never stopped serving. None of this means you should throw away your toothbrush. Please do not. In a world drowning in sugar, brushing and dentists are exactly what keep your teeth in your head, but it does reveal the truth hiding behind every cavity you have ever had. The problem was never really that you did not clean enough. The problem is what we, as a species, decided to eat. Your mouth is still a Stone Age mouth, living in a world of sugar it was never built for. So the next time you find yourself in a dentist's chair, stop and think about it. You are being treated for a wound that your ancient ancestors almost never suffered. They walked this earth for hundreds of thousands of years with strong, whole teeth. No brushes, no paste, no drills, no fillings, just a mouth that was never asked to survive what yours survives every single day. Their secret was never a routine or a product or some lost discipline. It was simply a world without sugar. We gained bread and sweetness and abundance beyond their wildest dreams. But somewhere inside that trade, we quietly lost our perfect teeth. The cavity is the small, aching price of the modern world, a reminder written right inside your own mouth of how astonishingly new our way of living really is. Your ancestors did not have better teeth because they tried harder than you. They had better teeth because their world never handed them the one thing that destroys them. And every single time you choose what to eat, that ancient battle quietly begins again. Invisibly, silently, one bite at a time. The hole in your tooth was never a sign of failure. It is a fingerprint of the world we built.